The fifth-ranked Syracuse field hockey team has put aside all preseason questions regarding this year's offense. Meet Bo Von Kempen, who has been insane during the first 3 quarters of the season. 19 goals have catapulted the second-year grad to the top of the ACC. Syracuse started 6-0 for the first time since 2017. Yes, it's hit a couple rough patches since, but SU leads JS Coyne with 3 straight wins. The Orange packed that streak into their carry-on bag to California with a matchup against Stanford on Friday. We'll get you set for the Orange and the Cardinal. It's Cuse Countdown next. That's right, it's Cuse Countdown back here inside our CitrusTV studios. I'm Nico Horning alongside Alex Burstein and Jish Sokolsky. And guys, it is finally time to talk about arguably the best team that's on campus right now with Syracuse football on a bye.
This might not even be arguably. Look at the rankings. I mean, top 5 in the nation.
Best ranked team.
I don't know if there's another top 5 team. I haven't checked recently, but I don't think there is one, Nico.
Hey, basketball hasn't started yet. Maybe they'll be number 5. No,
Who knows?
Just kidding. There's a lot of good basketball teams in the country. But as far as this field hockey team, this is a team that, if you talk about last year's team, lost a lot of offense. They had 3 of their top 4 point scorers leave the team. They were looking for production and who would get that offensive production. I think a lot of people know who got that offensive production. We'll get into that a little bit more into the show. They started 6-0 for the first time since 2017. This team has proved a lot of people wrong so far, 3 quarters through the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such a good offensive team, and I won't spoil it anymore. It's Bo Von Kempen who's been such a big part. You look at the 2 losses for this team, a Wake Forest team that wasn't top 10 at the time, but now they're number 5 in the nation alongside Syracuse. This team does not have a bad loss on the year. Syracuse has been so dominant on the offensive side of things, and they've also turned around their defense since those losses. They just have the full thing going right now.
You know, it's just really interesting. You lose players like Charlotte DeVries. You lose some of the star players you've had in the past that have contributed to these strong Syracuse field hockey teams. I'd argue it's better at this point when you have players that know their role. Bo Von Kempen is that main goal scorer. You have Patty Strunk is the main assister. I feel like this team knows its role and they take care of business. You said their success against ranked teams, but against unranked teams, they've outscored them 30-5. This is a team that is just knowing its role and taking care of business. I think this team is better than it has been in many, many years.
9-2 so far on the season with 17 newcomers and really one tough weekend. An overtime loss to Wake Forest, a 1-goal loss to Virginia, and those have been the only 2 losses for Syracuse. And really those losses came when Bo Von Kempen did not exactly perform at her best, even though she probably scored a goal in that game. This is the leading goal scorer in the ACC, obviously the leading goal scorer on Syracuse. What have you guys made of Bo Von Kempen so far this season?
Well, Bo Von Kempen is kind of like your LeBron James of the team. You go where this team goes, and it's really thanks to one play, right? This is a team that's built off the penalty corner, and their number 1 scorer on the penalty corner is Bo Von Kempen. She's got so much power, so much zip in the shot, can put it anywhere in the net, has defenses just guessing where they'll put it. I mean, you know what's coming, and you can't stop it. It reminds me of a certain play like the tush push that the Eagles run in the NFL. You know what's going to happen. They're going to get it to Bo Von Kempen. She's scored 18 goals already this season, 6 of them in 1 game. It doesn't matter. She's a defender, by the way, leading the team in scoring. It's all thanks to that immense power that she generates through the torque, through the just sheer strength that she packs.
Yeah, she uses the drag flick on her penalty shots, and it's just so dominant. I'll introduce you to a name, Toon Seatman. He's one of the best drag flickers the sport has ever seen. He taught Bo Von Kempen 5 years ago how to do this shot. She learned from the best, and she's using it in almost every single game. She has been so dominant this season. If Bo Von Kempen's playing good, Syracuse is winning games. It's as simple as that.
That second-year grad, Bo Von Kempen, has been extremely good so far this season for Syracuse from the Netherlands. And that shot that Alex brought up is something that I think we got to break down a little bit more. Let's get to that.
Yeah, Nico, it's time to talk about everyone's favorite defender who also leads the nation in goals, Bo Von Kempen. 18 goals on the season, and she's gotten a lot of them done from the same spot on the field, the penalty corner. Take a look at a recent game against Penn State. This drag flick move from Von Kempen into the bottom left corner. It's how she scores so many points on the season, gets that opening in the bottom left. And after that, it's smooth sailing into the back of the net. We'll slow it down here and also take a pause. You have these two post players trying to attack over at the trapper, Lana Hamilton, who's very dangerous for Syracuse as well. But Bo von Kempen realizes that, sees the collapse onto the right side. And what does that mean? Wide open, smooth sailing, gets the goal in the left corner. And that was one of her 18 goals already this season. But she's not just good at goals, she can assist pretty well too.
Yes, she can. And it's because of that immense power that really opens up her ability to set up her teammates and collect those assists as well. Let's look at that same game. Penn State, just a couple of plays earlier. It's the same exact play. Penalty corner, Bo von Kempen at top of the key right here. All three defenders are going to rush right at her, and she's going to draw the goalie's eyes too. The goalie comes out of the net and is trying her best to stop the powerful shot of Bo von Kempen. She knows this, but she also knows where her teammates will be. Flicks one right to the cutter, Hattie Matten, who cashes it in, her 5th goal of the year. So because of just the pure reputation, the pure power that von Kempen brings, she can set up her other teammates. My football coach used to say, if you're going to make a mistake, make it at 100 miles per hour. Was this a missed shot? Maybe. But because she knew the offense, knew where her teammates were going to be, she was able to turn a negative play into a positive play by drawing the defenders and finding her teammate for her 3rd assist of the year. Nico?
All right, thanks, guys. Von Kempen has been exactly that, and it's been that type of plays that have allowed her to produce these numbers on the season so far. 18 goals, that leads the country. Next person is 12. That is North Carolina's Riley Heck. And Von Kempen also has 2 ACC Offensive Player of the Week awards this season. And by the way, those 14 goals of 18 through that 6-0 stretch included a 9-goal opening weekend. So a lot of goals early and heavy for Von Kempen, but she's continued to produce as the season has progressed. But it's going to come down to more than just Von Kempen, and that is some of the supporting members on the roster for Syracuse. There's a couple that I think can be illustrated for the Orange, but how much of this team comes down to who else produces on the offensive side?
Yeah, I mean, let's just say that Bo's the Michael Jordan of this team. There's a few other players that kind of combine to be the Scottie Pippen, and it starts with Hattie Madden. You kind of have Bo, who's this hectic defender, gets these crazy shots. Hattie Madden's the calm forward on this team. She has 11 points, more than last season already, and she's just been such a calm presence on the offense. Works really well with Von Kempen, and those two have been combining for a lot of points this season.
Yeah, second on this team with 5 goals. She's just always in the right spot. Ton of hustle, great positioning. Had that immense game winner against Ohio State. That was huge for the resume for Syracuse. I'm also looking at Patty Strunk, though. She leads the nation in assists, has kind of emerged from just being a defender-only kind of role to being the feeder on those penalty corners. That's half the battle for the reason why Bo von Kempen gets all these shots in, is because all those feeds are absolutely beautiful from Patty Strunk. It's not just her. Lana Hamilton, another key piece.
Yeah, Hamilton's a player that does not start. Only 2 starts on the season, but she's one of the leading point getters for this entire squad. She's another player that works really well. We saw that goal earlier that Bo von Kempen had. Who was the trapper on that penalty? It was Lana Hamilton. Sometimes you need these assisted players to just make the small moves, stop the ball, pass the ball, get it to your stars. They are stars in their own, but these 3 players have really made it work well for Syracuse this season.
And these 3 have put Von Kempen in the right position. It just comes down to the opposition stopping Bo von Kempen, and if they can do that, they've got a good opportunity to beat Syracuse. As far as beating the goals and the goaltenders going into the net, that would be a situation that Syracuse has played around with a little bit this year. It's a very interesting style because they have one that plays in the first half, that is Jessie Eisland. Then they have Tanya King that plays in the second half. What have you guys made of this goaltending situation this season?
I think it's very interesting what Coach Lynn Farquhar is doing with her goalies. Both of them are newcomers. Then you start with the Jessie Eisland. She's got more experience, had a great couple of years in Monmouth, a CAA all-rookie team member. But then you got Tanya King, who I think is going to be the future of this goaltending unit. She sees more shots for whatever reason in the second half and saves more of them too. Has a 77% save percentage. Meanwhile, Jessie Eisland, she's done her job but hasn't faced as many shots. They both allowed 6 goals this year. But Tanya King has seen far more shots. I don't know. I think they're kind of grooming her to be the future of this team. That's why they're putting her in the second half.
Yeah, and you have to give credit to the Syracuse goalie coach, Sally Rutherford. This is her 3rd season with the team. You lose Louise Pert, who was an all-tournament ACC player last year, a great goalkeeper. And what happens? You get 2 goalkeepers who are not good. They've been great so far this year. There's a reason Syracuse is top 5 in the nation. And when you have kind of an opener and closer, we're not talking about baseball. We're talking about field hockey goalies, and Syracuse has been doing so great with both of them.
And if one of them doesn't produce, you can easily go to the other one. I think that's the beauty of having the two goaltenders for Syracuse. All right, we'll step aside for now. When we come back, our beat reporter for field hockey, Sydney Chan, is going to join us and break down this team a little bit more. Don't go anywhere. It's Cuse Countdown.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the-right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
All right, we're back on the countdown. Nico Horning and our field hockey beat reporter, Sydney Chan, excited to be with you here in our CitrusTV studios. Sydney, this team has had an immense start to the season so far. Going into California, of course, Stanford and Cal, a couple teams that just joined last year in the ACC. Yeah. So from a Syracuse standpoint, they're new as well. But for Syracuse, a couple of nitpicky things here. When it comes to the penalty corners, they have been so good feeding Bo von Kempen. How has SU created that process to be so dominant in that category?
Yeah, one of the reasons why Syracuse is so dominant on attacking penalty corners is consistency. Last season, Syracuse scored 18 goals off of 60 chances, and still this year they're about on that same page, 21 goals off of 71 chances. That's a 30% conversion rate. But to put it simply, Nico, attacking penalty corners are the epitome of team hockey. The trap, the pass, and that strike have to be absolutely perfect. And for Syracuse, they almost always are. They start with the insert, Patty Strunk, who goes to usually Liz Estanga and Lana Hamilton, and that block means that Bo von Kempen, the top hitter, can just seamlessly go forward through the ball. And when everything is working together in tandem, plus you've got players crashing at the post like Hattie Madden did versus Penn State, it's textbook.
Sydney, I feel a little different. I feel like I've shrunk a couple inches. Should I rip a yes, sir? I don't know. Anyway, we've talked enough about the offense, right? But this Syracuse defense, equally as good, equally as dominant. Sydney, what's been the key to success for Syracuse to really shut down opponents' offenses?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it starts with that back attacking defensive core. And Syracuse kind of plays with a diamond kind of formation with Bo von Kempen at the back, Patty Strunk to the left, Lottie Knight to the right, and then Danique Sherman playing that defensive center mid position. They've always been in communication, and they've really gelled really well together. And then if you take a step back, let's talk about that goalie rotation that you guys mentioned before as well. Both newcomers, junior Jesse Iceland and freshman Tana King, who've been rotating, both really solid. King ranks 12th in the nation with her goals against average, but most importantly, Syracuse defends as a whole. They defend as 11, not just as 4. And because the forwards are pressing so hard, the midfielders are recovering quick, that collective work rate makes it really hard to find transition chances for the opponents and makes Syracuse one of the toughest teams to break through in the nation.
Well, Sandy, good to see you. I know, we're switching in and out. This is a team, and we've been talking about, same 5 or 6 players get brought up time and time again. But you've been watching all these games. What's one player maybe flying under the radar that's had a big impact on this start?
Yeah, that's the beauty of this team, that all of these new players, they're executing like veterans. Syracuse has 17 newcomers, but still they're paying all like veterans. And if I had to pick one player to spotlight tonight, it would have to be Danique Sherman. She's a grad student from the Netherlands, and she joins the Cuse having already played with current teammate Bo von Kempen, then also with recent Syracuse graduate Wilhelmine Bogart, and she's just been outstanding. In that first game, she had 2 goals in the home opener, and then most recently versus Colgate, she had her best overall game. She scored a goal, had a huge assist off the attacking penalty corner, and just controlled the pace really well. She's kind of like that glue for Syracuse, playing in that center defensive mid position. All of her passes are always super accurate and timely as well.
All different colored suits here, gray and blue and black, and maybe there's going to be someone else appeing in the show a little bit later. But We thank Sydney Chan for joining us here on the show. Sydney, thanks so much.
Thanks
and coming up next, Stanford has not exactly had the best start to the season. We'll preview the opposition and give you how and why Syracuse can beat Stanford on the West Coast when we come back. Welcome back to Cuse Countdown. I'm Nico Horning alongside Alex Burstein and Jish Sokolsky. And guys, we've relayed a lot of what Syracuse presents to the table, but now Stanford, who, by the way, is coming off a bye week, maybe some added energy there. They're hungry for a win, and this is going to be a good time for them to try and get a win against Syracuse at home. But this is a series history against Syracuse that the Orange have absolutely dominated as of late, and the numbers are not looking good for the Cardinal.
Yeah, Stanford has one loss all time against Syracuse. It came in 2019, but you look just a year later, this is a Stanford program that got discontinued due to the COVID-19 pandemic. They've come back a year later and just don't have the same mojo. They haven't made the NCAA tournament, and the Cardinals have just struggled as of recent against Syracuse and against the entire nation. Syracuse has just been dominant. Yeah,
Syracuse has outscored Stanford 7-0 their last two matchups. But the last time that Syracuse went to the West Coast, they actually lost to Stanford. So that's kind of a big home court advantage, if you will, for this field hockey team out in Stanford. Maybe the Palo Alto sun and sand is really what's going to be the key for Stanford to get one back on Syracuse.
So there you have it, the one loss back in 2019. Stanford has got shut out a couple of times since against Syracuse, so we'll see what the Orange can do going into Stanford. As far as the Cardinal itself, struggling really a lot this season. Not much offense. What have you guys seen as far as some of the struggles that the Cardinal have had to deal with on the other side of the country?
I mean, simply put, they're not getting a lot of shots up. They're not drawing penalty corners. Field goals are hard to come by, and they really aren't scoring them. They're not creating corner opportunities. They're actually second to last in the ACC in creating those chances. So the fact that they're not scoring, mixed with the fact that, you know, they're giving up a lot of shots on net. Their goalies are some of the most overworked in the country. There's no reason to believe that this is a team that can really come back. I mean, it's a team that's struggling for good reason.
I want to point out one game that Stanford has had this year. It was against number 7 Michigan. Stanford had a 2-0 lead and ended up losing that game 3-2. They've competed against some of the best. We talked about that 2-0 loss to Virginia, but when they've been playing these top 10, top 15 teams, which is a ton of their schedule, they just have not been able to win these games. They don't have that clutch gene, and in field hockey, a low-scoring sport, that is something you need to have. You need to be able to win close games. They haven't been able to.
And it's not like they've been getting boat raced at all, Alex. You just presented the facts that Stanford has really hung in most of these games. It's just been that offense that has plagued them from taking that next step as well. You just highlighted that Virginia game. Stanford lost 2-0. What was your overall takeaway from that game for Stanford that maybe they can build on going into the Syracuse game?
Well, I think the defense for Stanford took a big step up in this game. Only giving up 2 goals to a Virginia team that looked good against Syracuse, looked good against every team they played this year is really impressive. But what Virginia did really well is they just kept on shooting. They had 16 shots in this game, and if you look at what ended up being the game-winning goal, that first goal in the second half, it was off of a rebound. They followed up their shots. You learn this in youth basketball. You learn this in every single sport. You have to follow up your shots. Virginia did that. You just have to keep on shooting against the Stanford team, and it ends up working.
And it was a Stanford team that got shut out, too. Only 2 shots on the other end. 2! Stanford had 16. I don't care how accurate you are with those shots. If you're getting getting outshot 16-2, you're not winning that game, especially against a team that's so disciplined, so experienced like Virginia. So kudos to Stanford for making it as close as they did. But at the end of the day, when you only put up 2 shots, you're not winning many games. And if they do something similar against Syracuse, they're not going to win.
It was close at halftime. Virginia just scored a couple of those goals after halftime. So something that maybe they can take going into Syracuse come tonight and maybe break that lack of scoring that we've seen from this Stanford team. Why can't they score? And maybe a couple of players that you'd want to see score for Stanford, Alex. Who do you have to mark on that?
Yeah, they have Kate Nemec. She's the only player that has over 2 goals, and the number she has is 3. So this is a team that does not have a lot of scoring threats. They have 6 players with multiple goals, and most teams would like that. But the problem is 5 of them only have 2. So Nemec is the one player you really want to keep an eye out for. She's a veteran presence on this team, but they've been playing hard defenses, and when they just have not had much offense.
Yeah, you're not really scared of a particular player. One of my favorite stats from this matchup, Bovan Kempen has more goals this season than the entire Stanford team, right? That's just not going to cut it when you're getting outscored by one player. Yeah, Nemec has a hat trick on the season, but Bovan Kempen had 3 times that in the first 2 games of the season. This is not a team that has any goal scorers I'm really scared of.
And it doesn't help when this is a Syracuse team that has seen their defense really improve since those 2 weekend losses a few weeks ago. They've improved their press. They've improved their transition offense. That's going to work well against Stanford. It's
absolutely ridiculous that Von Kempen has outscored that entire team. Let that sink in for just a minute. As far as the goaltending front, for Stanford, Anya Jackson, who really has not started most of the year, but she started the last 2 games. Jish, what are you making of this new effort that Stanford's trying to put out there?
She's been better than their starter, Daisy Ford, to start the year. That's a goal allowed average of almost under 1 goal, and she's seen a ton of shots as well, only averaging 1.76 goals allowed per game, and she's seeing a lot of work. We talked about the Virginia game where there were 16 shots on cage. This is a Stanford team that opponents shoot 55% of their shots are on net. So she is overworked, but she is meeting the moment. The junior from Great Britain has seen a lot, had 5 saves against UVA. She's absolutely met this moment. I think she's been better than Daisy Ford, their starter from the beginning of the year.
Statistically, she has also got a shootout win over Louisville in one of her first starts ever. The problem is you look at how these 2 teams play offense. Stanford's a team that plays close to the net. That's how like the shots. That is how Anya Jackson the last 2 weeks has faced in practice. Syracuse is not a team that gets close to the goal. We've seen it in the highlights. What do? They do those corners. They go from the edge of the circle to score. Jackson's not used to that. How did she fare against this Syracuse offense? That's a lot different than what she's been facing in practice.
All right, well, she has a 3rd opportunity to face an ACC team. That'll be Syracuse coming up tonight, but we're not done yet. When we come back, we'll give our final thoughts, predictions, and get you set for Syracuse and Stanford here on Cuse Countdown. Welcome back to Cuse Countdown. I'm Nico Horning alongside Alex Burstein and Jish Sokolsky here ahead of Syracuse and Stanford. Field hockey going at it in California. And this is the last 2-game weekend for Syracuse against Stanford, something that maybe they can take a little extra firepower here into this weekend before just 1 game the rest of the way.
Yeah, a Cal team that has also really struggled in ACC play. And what's interesting to look at here, Syracuse is 5th to last in the ACC. That, some quick broadcasters math, means 4 teams are below them. And all 4 of them are on that screen right now. Stanford, Cal, Boston College, and Louisville, all below Syracuse in the ACC standings. North Carolina, that's a good team, but the other 4, Syracuse should get wins against.
And this is, you can't afford to slip at all. We'll look at the national rankings in a little bit, but this is your longest stretch of unranked opponents with Colgate last week, Stanford, and then California. You have to take advantage of these. I know these are 2 tough West Coast trips, the first Syracuse has had to face in over 6 years, but the real test of the season to me is that North Carolina game on the 17th. That's going to be one you want to grab your popcorn for. It should still be a top 5 matchup if Syracuse can handle business against Cal and Stanford right here.
SU hasn't beat UNC since 2021. 5 straight losses for the Orange. This would be a great year to break that streak. As far as some other NCAA teams going on in field hockey, there's your top 12 rankings. As you can see, Northwestern 10-0 there at the top. Virginia number 2, who both Syracuse and Stanford have played pretty well, and then the rest of the rankings go on.
You see the tied for 5th there with Wake Forest, a team that has actually beat Syracuse. So this makes it even more important that Syracuse takes care of business against these inferior teams, because if they slip once, you know Wake Forest is going to jump them. Liberty and Princeton, also great teams, could jump them in the ranking. I don't see them falling further than 8 if they can't get it done, but if they win, I don't really know if this really boosts their resume that much. You see all those undefeated teams above them. I don't know, Syracuse would have to win a lot down the stretch to really jump up into that elite upper echelon.
I look at these rankings and I see that Syracuse has a huge opportunity in the ACC tournament. There's 2 conferences that reign supreme in field hockey. It's the ACC and it's the Big Ten. If you're able to beat Virginia, beat North Carolina, do something like that over the next couple of weeks, Syracuse has a huge opportunity. They were number 4 earlier in the season. A couple of big wins. You could be number 3, number 2, get a bye in the first round of the NCAA tournament. There's some huge opportunities for Syracuse coming up.
And again, their only losses, Wake Forest and Virginia, both by 1 goal and 1 in overtime. So they're right there. They're right at the cusp. If you can imagine them being undefeated, they'd be in the top 3 or 4 of those teams. So, all right, as far as your guys' keys to the game going into Syracuse and Stanford, Alex, I'll start with you. What is it going to take for Syracuse to get this one done on the other side of the country?
I think it's pretty simple. You have one offense in Stanford that has struggled a ton over the season, and then you have Syracuse that hasn't, especially against unranked teams. They've scored over 25 more goals against unranked opponents than the opponents have scored, and this is a Syracuse team that just shoots the ball so much. If they can attack the net and get the offense rolling early on, we saw what Virginia did, rebounds, they got the ball past Anya Jackson. You just have to keep on shooting. A couple of them will go in. You're probably not giving up a lot of goals against this Cardinal team. So if Syracuse can shoot the ball, they're going to come out for the win.
I mean, how many more shots can Stanford really take after taking 16 against Virginia last week? Really, you look at this game on paper, you look at it in practice, Syracuse is the much better team on offense, on defense. The goalie tandem, I think, is a lot more sturdy than Anya Jackson has been thus far. All you have to do if you're Syracuse, stay the course. Don't change anything, but don't shoot yourself in the foot. Don't be committing any dumb penalties, any dumb fouls, because this is a Stanford team. Say what you will about them. They play clean. 0 fouls so far this year, only 2 yellow cards. It's a team that isn't going to beat itself with mistakes, but it's going to beat you if you mess up more than them. They haven't beat a ranked opponent, or all their losses have been to ranked opponents, and if Syracuse wants to add their name to the list of teams that have beat them so far, all they have to do, stay the course, don't change anything.
All the numbers point towards Syracuse getting this win, having won 11 of the last 12 matchups against Stanford. We'll see if they can get that done. As far as, before we get into our predictions, some of the predictions that our last week's hosts had, there they are. AJ Myers, Milo Hoffman, Ben Chadwick in the football game against SMU. Honestly, guys, pretty accurate all around when it comes to the score differential.
It's a try at a ball knowers right there.
So all of them are 2-0, and there is your standings for the predictions. Milo, Ben, AJ at the top. And of course, we are very early on. Look at the differential, though. Minus 28 at the bottom. Good news for us, guys. Can't get much worse than that.
Yeah, well, we are tied for 8th, too. We're just not even on the screen there, Alex and I.
Hey, but the field hockey scores aren't 28-0.
That's true. That is true. I think we're probably going to get in the win column with this. And I'll start with my prediction here. I think Stanford maybe gets 1 goal, but Syracuse is going to win this game, and they're going to do it handedly. 3-1 is my prediction for how this game is going to go. Listen, Syracuse is the much better team. Anya Jackson might give them a couple of challenges, but I think at the end of the day, Syracuse is the one that pulls it out.
I really don't think Stanford scores a goal in this one. They have it in their last 2 matchups against Syracuse, and this SU team is arguably better than those last 2 matchups. The Orange offense has been rolling as of recent. They play that slow European style and get goals off of it. it. 4-0. Syracuse should get an easy win in this one over Stanford and get another win on the season.
And I'm going to go with the fact that Syracuse does allow Stanford to score a goal in this game. I'm going to nag Alex here a little bit and say that Syracuse allows one to make it a 4-1 final, but Syracuse still takes the win before facing Cal on Sunday. All right, that does it here for Cuse Countdown. Enjoy the game with Alex Burstein, Jish Sokolsky. I'm Nico Horning. Have a great rest of your night, and join us next time on the Countdown.